Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 5 episodes 12 and 13, The Pandorica Opens and The Big Bang. Okay, this is a big story. This is a pretty big story. Okay, let's start off with The Pandorica Opens. So the opening of the episode shows various characters from the over the last couple of episodes from the series: Vincent Van Gogh, Professor Edwin Bracewell, Winston Churchill, River Song, and um, Liz Ten, all being seen once again as Vincent is getting visions of the Pandorica opening. The message of the Pandorica opening is being broadcast across time and space via some transmissions from the Underhenge underneath Stonehenge in the year 102 AD. And as Vincent van Gogh has been able to see visions, as he was able to see the Crephaeus in Vincent and the Doctor, he gets this vision and paints a picture of the TARDIS exploding, which ultimately causes him to become unwell once again. And these visions cause him to have another mental breakdown, I guess. Several what is 50, is it 1850, 1890? Something, but by 1941 the painting is in an attic in France, and it is eventually found and sent to the Cabinet War Rooms, where Bracewell informs Churchill that he needs to pass on a message to the Doctor, but the TARDIS, the call to the Doctor's TARDIS doesn't always reach him, but the TARDIS has rerouted it to River Song in her Stormcage containment facility in the 52nd century. After escaping from the facility, and by the way, this is a bit of a funny bit, especially as when she's using the hallucinogenic a lipstick that causes hallucinations. The hallucinogenic. You get the idea. It's a lipstick that causes hallucinations. I can't say the word properly, but it's the something lipstick that causes hallucinations. I can't even say that word properly. And then River goes to the Star. I didn't slap myself properly either. And then River goes to the Starship UK to recover the painting. And Liz Ten is still somehow alive and Queen. According to the Doctor, the Women Who Lived book, on the Queen Elizabeth X section, she met River Song 2,000 years after the events of The Beast Below. 2,000? I mean, 300 I can believe, but an additional 2,000 or so? How? And it's not even specifically said on screen that it's her descendant. It is definitely her. It's definitely her. So how? And River hasn't time travelled yet. How odd. Eventually, she does get her vortex manipulator from Dorian Maldover, played by Simon Fisher-Becker, who I follow on Facebook, and he follows me as well, so we're Facebook friends. And after getting her vortex manipulator, River then goes to Planet 1, the oldest planet in the universe, apparently, to deface it with Hello Sweetie and some coordinates for the Doctor and Amy, to then come to Stonehenge in 102 AD, where she again uses her hallucinogenic lipstick. I got it right that time. To convince the Romans that she is Cleopatra and the Doctor is Julius Caesar. That's quite funny, though this doesn't last terribly long, as the general returns and gets a bit pissed off about this. So River shows the Doctor and Amy the painting and explains to him what's going on, sort of, and they head up to Stonehenge to try and investigate what's going on. Eventually, the Doctor, Amy, and River go into the Underhenge to investigate and locate the Pandorica. However, it seems to be being guarded by a lone Cyberman sentry who had a bit of a fight with a Celt, the Doctor suspects later on. And I love the, by the way, the Cyberman theme motif in the score when the Doctor's going past it. That is absolutely brilliant stuff by Murray Gold. Fantastic. He does fantastic music in this episode throughout, but that bit was certainly a notable, fantastic moment. So the Doctor and Amy stick around with the Pandorica to make sure it's guarded, whilst River tries to get the Romans on her side, which is where she meets the Cross General, but then another Roman volunteers to take a small legion up to help the Doctor. And it turns out this Roman is in fact Rory, somehow resurrected and back in the universe after being erased from time by the crack in the universe. But the Cyber Sentry is awoken, and it's coming after Amy to have a new body. I like the nice touch that the flesh is gone, and so the metal is actually coming for new flesh to upgrade. Even though Cybermen are humans who have upgraded, they've gotten rid of all of the flesh, they still feel the need to get a new body to be incorporated into the cyber suit. I'm not sure how if that works in the Cybermen's lore, but it does provide a really tense and horror moment in this episode where the cyber head smashed up shoots a dart at Amy, and the cyber suit then brings its head back on and tries to grab her. Meanwhile, the Doctor is electrocuted by a broken off left arm. Although you can see the shadow in the shot of the missing arm when it's supposed to be CG'd out. But eventually Rory kills the Cyber Sentry, and Amy passes out from being knocked out, and the Doctor then realises that Rory's back. And if that wasn't bad enough, a whole bunch of aliens have turned up just in the sky above in their spaceships, trying to get to Pandorica, supposedly. And this group of aliens that are all in the sky above includes, and I'm using the Dalek Handbook to read the list, the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Nesting Consciousness and Autons, the Sontarans, Dravens, Homo Reptilia, well, at least Silurians at the very least, Draconians, Zygons, Pteroptiles, Shenolians, which I believe are... Actually, which ones are the Shenolians? Are these the ones from... They can't be the ones from the Faceless Ones. Are they? They might be. I thought they were the Chameleons. Anyway, Slitheen, well, specifically Slitheen, not a Raxavalipatorian. Roboform, so the robot Santas from the Christmas Invasion and the Runaway Bride. Sycorax, Hoiks, Weevils, who they're mainly going after, they're mainly Torchwood's main alien threat in Cardiff. And I believe the Hoiks was in one episode of Torchwood as well, possibly. Judune, Yvonne, that's a Sarah Jane Adventures monster as well. So we've got Weevils from Torchwood and Yvonne from Sarah Jane Adventures. The Atraxi, who first appeared at the start of this series, and Haemogoths, whatever those are. Some of these characters appear on screen, and some of them don't. But that's the confirmed alliance, both in mentioning by River and by appearance on screen in the episodes. Dravens, by the way, were the female soldiers from Galaxy 4, and Pteroptiles were the aliens from the Visitation. The Hoiks, of course, being from Love and Monsters, and I believe you know the rest. Yeah, considering actually what happens later, it's funny that the Draconians are on are part of this. The Draconians from Frontier in Space. And at this point in the recording of this review, a couple of things happened that just kind of pissed me off for a moment, and now I'm pretty annoyed with myself and some other stuff. But, okay, don't worry, audience, I'm not angry with you. I'm not angry with anybody else, just me and stuff. Right, okay, so eventually the Doctor then dares the other aliens to come and get the Pandorica, whilst also giving them a warning not to do it. With a fantastic speech, proving once again Matt Smith is just absolutely perfect as the 11th Doctor. I think after 12, 13 episodes, it's official. Matt Smith is just absolutely fucking perfect as the 11th Doctor. He's just so amazing, and the Doctor is also really great. And this is possibly one of the best speeches that's ever made, at least for the 11th Doctor. And just absolutely amazing. Absolutely wonderful, and some really cool spaceship shots. Also like that the Cyberman ship is based on the design from the Invasion, and that they reuse these ships again for A Good Man Goes to War and The Time of the Doctor when we see them again. So yeah, some really great stuff there, and a wonderful moment where the Doctor is talking at Stonehenge, just perfect moment. And again, Murray Gold's music, just amazing. Although that being said, the Doctor basically daring the aliens to come and get the Pandorica, and then allowing them to squabble amongst themselves of who should go first. Little does he know that they have an ulterior motive. They've got a different plan, and they're all working together as an alliance. More on that in a moment, but actually, River is then sent to bring the TARDIS to the Doctor. However, the TARDIS is then randomly at this point, when the Pandorica is opening, the TARDIS is hijacked, sent to Amy's place where something's been there, and River discovers clues about the Romans not being very trustable, as well as Rory as well. And then the TARDIS is then hijacked once again, and it turns out that it's been hijacked to go to the 26th of June 2010, Amy's wedding day, or the night before, just turning into the date itself. And it's being, like I said, it's being hijacked by another force who have caused a crack in the screen, and a sinister voice says 3 times, "Silence will fall." And the voice honestly sounds like Davros trying to do an impression of the Eric Roberts Master. So yeah, and you know what the most annoying thing about that is? We actually don't know who it is. We never find out who this freaking voice actually belongs to. Who is saying "Silence will fall"? Is it just one of the random Kavarian clerics who gets the honor of going "Silence will fall" and then passing that message on? Yeah, because we'll find out who is in fact behind the destruction of the TARDIS in later stories. But at this point in time, we kind of know who it is by now. But in all honesty, we never find out who says this voice. It could honestly have been a silent, but somehow it sounds more human than what they will sound like in the next series. And we never have a clear male villain who sounds like Davros doing an Eric Robert Master impression ever appearing, or even sound appearing, their voice ever appearing again in the series. Honestly, when I first heard it, I thought it was Davros, because it sounded a lot like him. Or the Master, perhaps. It honestly sounded like the Master or Davros, because it sounded a lot like them. But it's not either Davros or the Master. They're not coming back until the Capaldi era, so yeah, it's a bit of a missed opportunity to not introduce a villain with the same voice who is working with the Silence in the Kavarian chapter. Maybe they could have been the main villain of Series 8. Had Series 8 been with Matt Smith. So, yeah, it is a bit disappointing that we never find out who this freaking voice ever belongs to. However, for the time, all of this was really, really great stuff, with the TARDIS being hijacked by this mysterious force and causing it to explode and cause cracks in the skin of the universe for reasons we will discover later on. And it's because of these cracks in the universe that the aliens above the Pandorica have gotten together to form an alliance and decided to trap the Doctor inside the Pandorica as a prison in order to prevent him from destroying the universe, though it is not him that is in fact destroying the universe. And because they are incarcerating him in the Pandorica, they have inadvertently allowed the universe to be destroyed, as the Doctor cannot do anything to stop that. Though, to be honest, the Doctor may also not be able to stop the TARDIS from blowing up, because he's busy with the Pandorica, and River's kind of trapped at the moment. Once the Silence and the Kavarian chapter of the Papal Mainframe start to... the Papal Mainframe we'll see later in time, the Doctor. But once they start to control the TARDIS and have it destroyed, at this point they just decide to do it now, because now seems to be as good a time as any, I guess, for them. To hijack the TARDIS and send it to Amy State. Sorry, I've got some things trying to fall down here. But because that's now starting to happen, everything that could possibly go wrong for everybody else, goes wrong. So, bit like now with me, I've got some things going wrong right about now. Once again, I do not blame any of you audience members for what's going on. So anyway, I may as well just wrap up the Pandorica Opens because this review seems to be cursed. It turns out the Roman soldiers are Autons, including Rory, but Amy remembers him and they've taken a scenario out of her mind to create this whole setup as a trap for the Doctor. But then Rory kills Amy, and the TARDIS the Doctor is locked in the Pandorica, and the TARDIS explodes. And that basically is it for the Pandorica Opens. We are left on that cliffhanger, and yeah, basically the entire universe has been destroyed and is collapsing. So then we move on to the Big Bang, and this is a equally brilliant episode. Whilst the first half of the story seemed to be a big, mad, epic, but still dramatic adventure story with a bit of a hint of horror and scariness, and as Stuart Hardy put it in his Stephen Moffat episodes pre-Series 8 video, not Series 18, we haven't got there yet, Series 8 video, it is a bit like an episode of Scooby-Doo, but that's in places. But it then turns into a bit of a very strong sci-fi adventure later on, and the ending is absolutely fantastic. And everyone's on top form. Actors magnificent, characters are on top form, and it's just a masterfully put together episode and wonderfully executed. Big Bang is a bit more of a dramatic drama-filled episode. There is some epic sci-fi moments later on, but it's a more drama character-driven episode. As the universe is collapsing around everyone, Rory mourns Amy's death, but it turns out the Doctor has somehow escaped the Pandorica and gives Rory the sonic screwdriver to make sure he helps the Doctor escape the Pandorica. So Rory does, and the Doctor puts Amy in the Pandorica to make sure she is revived, and she'll just needs a plant of her living tissue in about just under 2,000 years. There's a very annoying noise outside! And, stop now. And he locks her in there, so she will be revived once young Amelia Pond is able to open the Pandorica. It's starting up again. Oh, my dear audience, this review is such a difficult one to actually make. I'm struggling to actually make this review. It's none of your fault, though. You're fantastic. You're absolutely fantastic. Thank you for watching. I'm really wanting to finish up now because I'm losing my motivation. Not because the episode's bad. In fact, I love the episode. It's because this review feels so fucking cursed. So much things going wrong. Anyway, so yes, that happens. And then Rory standguards over it, and the Doctor time travels. Where did he get the vortex manipulator? Did River leave it with him? I'm not quite sure. She might have. And then the Doctor travels to the future, where young Amelia has turned up at a museum where the Pandorica is being stored, and Amy has been revived. However, the life force from the Pandorica also revived one Dalek, which, along with a lot of the races around the Pandorica, were destroyed and turned to stone, but one of the stone Daleks is revived. There's only 2 stone Daleks. I'm not sure what happened to the third. I'm also not sure which Dalek it is, by the way, because the ones that turned up in the downstairs were the Supreme, Drone, and Eternal. By the way, this will be the second and final TV appearance of the Eternal Dalek. We will see the Supreme, Drone, and Strategist Daleks again, but that's it from the Eternal Dalek now, and Scientist is never making another TV after his one appearance in Victory of the Daleks. I say he, it. So, anyway, the Stone Dalek then chases down Amelia, and the Doctor, as well as Auton Rory, who is turned up and is now working as a security guard after protecting the Pandorica for nearly 2,000 years. So eventually, they then have to. The Doctor then has to go travel to give Rory his sonic screwdriver as a way to get himself out of the Pandorica. That's how Rory recognised him, with the mop in the fez. And then he then travels to get Amelia to come to the museum, give her clues and signs. By the way, the pre-title scene of this episode, the cold opening, could be the longest one of any episode. The longest cold opening of any Doctor Who episodes. It's quite a lengthy one, considering. The Pandorica Opens one was also a longer one than usual, but I suppose that helps in setting up the story and building it really well. And Both bits just before the titles are like mini cliffhangers for the rest of the episode. But Amelia somehow then disappears from time. Time is losing all around her, but Amy is still there, wibbly wobbly timey-wimey stuff. And eventually the Doctor then rescues River from the exploding TARDIS, which has been protecting her from the destruction by putting her in a time loop. However, the Stone Dalek restores most of its power and is able to come chasing afterwards, and even is able to exterminate the Doctor. Although due to its loss of power, he doesn't need to regenerate like the 10th Doctor did in The Stolen Earth and Jenny's End. But this is also the second and currently final time the Doctor has been shot by a Dalek. To our knowledge, at least on screen, and River then kills the Dalek. By the way, this is the first time a Dalek actually begs for mercy in this episode, something that Stephen Moffat would actually forget about when he comes to write The Witch is Familiar 5 years later. Somehow. But anyway, they discover the Doctor has wired the vortex manipulator up to the Pandorica to send into the exploding TARDIS to cause Big Bang 2, which resets the universe back to how everything is, basically a reboot. However, the Doctor will be trapped on the other side and will be unable to get back. So he talks to Amy one last time, admitting that he kind of only took her because her house was too big and empty and she had the big crack in the wall, and promises when he's rebooted the universe, her parents will be back, as they seem to have been erased by the crack in time, as well as anybody else in the house besides her and Aunt Sharon, who, by the way, makes an appearance in this episode. She's in earlier on, and she makes an appearance at the end, I believe, at the wedding, possibly. Anyway, so eventually that's what happens. The Doctor sends the Pandorica into the exploding TARDIS to cause Big Bang 2, and basically reboots the universe. He gets trapped on the other side, but due to being able to talk with Amy, in that scene with Flesh and Stone where he's got his tweed jacket on and he's talking to her, and everyone watching the episode at the time would have thought that's a continuity error. And you hear the sonic screwdriver in the background. Well, actually, it turns out that it's the Doctor from the future coming to talk to Amy from the past, whilst the Doctor at that time is in the forest. He's not got his tweed jacket. He's sorting out his sonic screwdriver. We see this in this episode, but the Doctor from the future, who's got his tweed jacket back by the end of that episode, is now talking to Amy and trying to convince her to remember what he told her as a girl, and he then goes and has a nice story at her bedside on the night she waited. Which, by the way, I have to ask, if he put Amelia back into bed after finding her asleep outside and then putting her to bed here, how is she still awake in the morning waiting for the Doctor when at the end of in the 11th hours we see it towards the end of that, and at the end of the Angels Take Manhattan? Unless maybe after she woke up in the morning, she perhaps went downstairs and sat and waited again? Perhaps? Not quite sure. But anyway, the Doctor is then trapped on the other side, and the cracks have disappeared, and Amy and Rory get married, and they remember nothing about this. And that's it from this episode, and in fact, that's the end of Doctor Who. That's the final ever episode of Doctor Who. Wow. 31 seasons, 31 magnificent, fantastic, exciting, thrilling, and wonderful seasons of Doctor Who, and it all comes to this spectacular, character-driven, yet epic, climactic finale. What a fantastic way to finish the show. I mean, I am sad that this is the end of Doctor Who, and that is the end, and Matt Smith only got one series, and but what an episode to end on. What a fantastic episode. I mean, it's not the parting of the ways, but it's still a fantastic final 2-part story to end the show on. Surprised that Stephen Moffat only did one series, though, because otherwise they may as well have let Russell T Davies do one more series and that would be it, and then the show's over. But you know, for Stephen Moffat and Matt Smith's one and final series, again, they may as well let David Tennant stay on. But, you know, for one series with Matt Smith and Stephen Moffat, they ended the show magnificently. What a fantastic way. 5 fantastic series of the new series over 6 years, and on top of the incredible 26-season classic series run, plus some additional wilderness years stuff like the TV movie. What a fantastic way to end the Doctor Who series. Just absolutely magnificent. Of course, I am joking. This is not the end. This is not the end of Doctor Who, as Amy remembers the Doctor and manages to bring him back into time and space, which means the adventures continue. Yes! Excellent, as the cyber leader from the 1980s, specifically Earthshock, would say. Although, after this series, the quality would go down for at least most of the Stephen Moffat era, and arguably part of the Chris Chibnall era. There are the strong episodes across both eras, but arguably after this series, the show would not actually recover from such greatness. It's usually a bad event that causes something to go downhill and not recover after a while. But actually, here it's actually the complete opposite. It's almost okay, the complete opposite reason, but not the complete opposite, but the same effect. What I mean is that this two-parter does everything right, but the show still sort of goes downhill after this. Not completely, but enough. Causing that to the Moffat and Chibnall eras to be two of the most controversial showrunner eras of the entire show. So the episode ends with the Doctor, Amy and Rory going back into time and space after getting a phone call about an Egyptian goddess on the Orient Express in space. In fact, this Egyptian goddess will be actually dealt with in Mummy on the Orient Express, although the way it's described in this episode is actually quite different to actually what does happen in Mummy on the Orient Express. So, yeah, perhaps that's maybe because of a change of year. It was 4 years later. Things were a bit different, or maybe Jamie Matheson changed it a little bit when he wrote the episode. Perhaps I'm not quite sure, but there are some details here that are slightly altered when we actually do get to that episode. It would have been actually nice to have that episode as a series 6 episode, or maybe even to be the Christmas special. That would have been really good, or a Halloween special. But anyway, so the Doctor, Amy and Rory, I'm disappointed that they don't end on a shot with Rory, or go backwards, Rory, Amy, the Doctor, similar to the Time Meddler, but instead we end on a shot of Amy after the Doctor. But I am a bit disappointed that Rory doesn't get a shot there. River goes back and probably goes back to the Stormcage facility after the Doctor returns her Vortex Manipulator and diary. And she warns him that he's going to find out about her very soon, setting up what's going to be happening next series, along with the Silence, whoever they are. And the Doctor and Amy and Rory will be going to look for them after dealing with this Orient Express stuff, or not, because he doesn't actually do it until Series 8. And having them sent on many honeymoons, as seen in the Sarah Jane Adventures story Death of the Doctor, well, mentioned I should say, and then seen in again in A Christmas Carol, the upcoming Christmas special that will follow this episode. So that's it. Oh, and I loved how the TARDIS flying through the vortex merges with the credits in this episode. That actually makes up for Rory not getting a final shot in the last 2 or 3 at the very end of the episode. He doesn't get a final shot like the Doctor and Amy. So I'm disappointed with that, as I said, but the TARDIS going through the vortex, transitioning into the titles, end titles, more than makes up for that. So to wrap up this pretty lengthy review by now, and a very cursed one on my end, so the Pandorica Opens and the Big Bang, absolutely fucking outstanding. This is one of the best series finales ever made. Possibly it's the second best series finale of the new series after Bad Wolf and Departing of the Ways, and is one of the best of the show's finales, series finales ever made. Wow. And this makes not only the 5th consecutive fantastic, or at least amazing series finale in the new series, but it's also the 7th consecutive fantastic, amazing series finale of the show since season 25, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. What a great story that was. And since then, we've got nothing but fantastic finales, ending fantastic series or seasons. Wow, and Series 5, I fucking love Series 5, but I'll talk more about that in the rankings. So let's just focus on this episode. The plot is amazing. I love the plot. It wraps up many of the stuff from this series, but keeps a few bits open-ended for the latest series, as it's carrying on the series multi-series arc. Sadly, not everything will get explained by the time it's all wrapping up, but some things will be getting explained. I'm also glad that they don't focus too much on River Song in this episode. I think the mystery around her remaining is fine. It's good to keep that waiting for a bit longer, as this episode doesn't have to focus on her. Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone focused on it a little bit, because it was reintroducing the character for this era and setting up more of the mystery and character growth for her character. And then she's back here. We've known a little bit from back then, and then her presence in this episode doesn't derail this episode. She's just an additional character to help out, and she does a really great job in doing that. So her presence here doesn't derail this episode with her mystery or any secrets revealing. So it's good that we're going to find out next series instead, because that doesn't derail this episode. And same with what they do reveal in this episode. It adds to the story rather than takes away, and it just works on so many epic levels. The return of Rory is handled really well, and it's great that once time is restored, he is back to normal. Sadly, this will not be his 2 deaths this series in Amy's Choice, in The Dream, and in Cold Blood for real, will not be the last 2 times that Moffat and the writers try to kill off Rory. Speaking of Rory, Arthur Darvill is just absolutely amazing, and Rory is just magnificent in this story. He's definitely stepped up a tiny bit more since when we last saw him, and Arthur Darvill plays him to perfection. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having him as a constant regular companion. So bring on what you've got with Rory Series 6. We're ready and waiting with eager anticipation. Once again, Amy also is really great, and Karen Gillan does a great job, and I think the whole stuff around her, it works really well with what this particular story's got to do. Not so much with the overall arc, with the silence and stuff, but with what this finale's got and the cracks in time surrounding it. It works really well. Wonder why the silence chose the 26th of June 2010 as a specific destruction date. I guess they just thought as that... They just thought the Doctor's visited that date too many times. He's got himself a new companion now. And they're going to kidnap her baby in the next series. Let's go with this date. Heck, it's supposed to be her wedding day. Let's try and fuck up her wedding day by destroying the universe. So that's my only reasoning why I think the Silence chose that specific date, because it was Amy's wedding day, and they decided to fuck up her life as well as the Doctor's life and Rory's life to an extent as well. But yeah, I think the stuff surrounding Amy is really great, and it works really well with this finale. And once again, Karen Gillan does a brilliant job, as does Caitlin Blackwood as Amelia in The Big Bang. She is brilliant in that episode. And Matt Smith is just... in both episodes, especially towards the end of The Big Bang, when he's going back through his life across Series 5. I wonder how tempted the editors were to having clips of pre-Series 5 episodes flashing back after the 11th Doctor left Amy, and then afterwards we got clips from the first 10 Doctors eras, just that, basically. I think, because we got clips of Series 5's episodes going backwards, as the Doctor was travelling backwards through his time. So how tempted must the editors have been to do the same for episodes from the first 10 Doctors eras, following all of that? So, not really much more to talk about with this episode, otherwise I think this will overrun. But I think this is a magnificent finale. I think it does everything right. Some setup for what's still to come doesn't get revealed, like that voice. I really want to know who said that voice, even if it's just a ruddy cleric who does the janitor stuff at Demon's Run. Even if it's just him, they asked, can you do this recording for us, please? Even if it's just that, I would be fine just knowing it's the bloody janitor or caretaker at Demon's Run just being asked by his hi-hats to do a recording. I'd be fine with that, so long as I knew it. And this is not one that's supposed to be left vague and open-ended. This was something that was supposed to be revealed in one of the later series, but wasn't. Well, not that bit, but one of the other bits were, but not that specific bit. I still say it was Davros or the Master. I don't, but my mind it says it sounds like them. Or someone trying to sound like Davros doing an impression of the Eric Roberts Master. Oh boy. But that's really my only issue, that voice never got explained. I would have liked to have known who it was, or maybe it's Kavarian, just putting on a male voice. But yeah, but apart from the voice, everything else is just absolutely wonderful, absolutely amazing, magnificently shot and edited, and really well put together, and just magnificent all around. Wonderful, wonderful story. So I'll be giving The Pandorica Opens and The Big Bang a 10 out of 10. fantastic story, just absolutely fantastic. And now I've done the score, I'm going to wrap up this review because this review has been so difficult to do. Whew. So difficult. Anyway, so that's it from me, and that's it from Series 5. Series 5 is done, apart from the ranking, and we'll get on around to doing the Series 5 ranking next. And then the next episode we'll be taking a look at will be the 2010 Christmas special, A Christmas Carol, and with that we will officially start the Series 6 reviews. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time, first for the Series 5 ranking, and then for the Series 6 reviews, starting with A Christmas Carol. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel.